I'm one of those women with exceptional reproductive health, something I always knew would eventually open unusual doors for me. When I read the advertisement from the prestigious Valverde family, I knew it was my moment. It wasn't an ordinary offer. They were looking for a woman willing to become part of their lineage. And they offered a generous compensation for each child. 3 million for a boy, 2 for a girl. The message was direct, almost clinical. We take care of everything. Your only mission is to procreate. I arrived at the mansion with my heart pounding like a drum. Mrs. Constanza Valverde greeted me with an imposing composure. Slender, impeccably dressed, and with the gaze of someone who has made momentous decisions throughout her life. For generations, our family has faced challenges in having children. He explained it to me frankly. Don't misunderstand me if I have a preference for a son. Once you're born, you'll receive your reward and a symbolic wedding. I nodded without saying a word. I had already made my decision. Then, with a simple gesture, he called him Alejandro. Tall, with an imposing presence, but visibly tense. As if they were dragging him into an interrogation room. Leave me alone. Marriage can't be forced. I don't want children, he protested, struggling. My breath caught in my throat. That was the heir, the chosen father. Dona Constanza didn't even flinch. Alejandro, you can go your own way after you've fulfilled your duty. I only ask for one grandchild. Nothing more. At that moment, everything made sense. He was the last descendant. He had no interest in women, and the family had found a contractual alternative, even if no one called it that. She gave me a look. She'll be the mother of your child. If you can't accept the formal commitment, at least cooperate for tonight. Our eyes met. He looked away, embarrassed. I felt my decision solidify. I will keep our word, I said firmly. That night we shared a room. There was no passion, but neither was there contempt. It was a silent agreement, based on duties and mutual understanding. Do you have a partner? He asked, sounding a little nervous. No, I replied honestly. I do. But it's someone I couldn't introduce you to here, he confessed. My fingers twitched for a moment. Even so, nothing changed. Does that person know you're here? I inquired. They understand. This is something that's always been expected of me. It's just one more step. Shall we turn off the light? Silence filled the room. I felt emotionally disoriented, but more determined than ever. The next morning, he was gone. He only left a message on my phone. I had to go out. Let me know if you need anything. I'm back to my routine. At Catalina's agency, my partner was waiting for me with a stern expression. Where were you? Today was the meeting with Marzul. I forgot. I was at another engagement. What engagement could be worth more than €500,000? One worth 4 million, I whispered. The elevator doors opened. Alejandro Valverde appeared with a confident stride, impeccably dressed, and walked straight toward me. Catalina tried to hand him the folder with the proposal, but he paid no attention. I want you to give it to me, he said bluntly. With slightly trembling hands, I handed him the document. He signed it without reading a single word. Wait for me at home, he said in a clear voice. A thick silence fell over the lobby. Everyone was staring at us, employees, executives, even Catalina. When he left, she took my arm, incredulous. Can you tell me what that was? Are you involved with Alejandro Valverde? Are you out of your mind? Everyone knows he's not interested in women. My mind was a whirlwind. Images of his body next to mine, of his silence, of his almost involuntary surrender, crowded in without permission. It doesn't seem like it, I murmured, still caught in the echo of what we had shared. And as if the universe had heard my thoughts, an assistant appeared in the hallway, elegant and precise. "Mr. Valverde wishes to see you immediately," he announced in a firm voice. During the drive to the Valverde residence, silence was my only companion. Every second increased my confusion. Why was Alejandro, who before seemed to want to keep his distance, now trying to get closer? What was behind this sudden change in his attitude? Upon arriving, Dona Constanza was waiting for us in the lobby with her ever-present sharp, almost diplomatic smile. "Did he treat you well?" he asked, scrutinizing me with a mixture of politeness and control. "Isabel and I need to talk alone," Alejandro interrupted sharply. Once in the office, he offered me a glass of whiskey and plopped down on the sofa opposite me, frowning, as if his thoughts were too noisy. "Why does everyone assume you don't like women?" I blurted out. "Because it's easier," he replied, shrugging. "It's the only way to get my mother to stop interfering." I never said it, but they assumed it. And I allowed it. And me? Am I also part of that strategy? He stared at me. "You are different. You don't come to impose or manipulate. You don't pretend, you don't judge me. It's you, without embellishment. So, is this still just a pact?" Instead of answering, she fired off another question. "And for you? What does all this represent?" Before I could open my mouth, my phone vibrated loudly. 2 notifications lit up the screen. The first one. "We need to talk urgently. There's something you should know about the Valverdes." The second one. "Positive initial results. Is the pregnancy confirmed?" I felt the air grow thicker. Alejandro noticed the change in my face and waited, without pressuring me. "It seems. I've already fulfilled my part of the agreement," I said, my voice breaking. Her expression changed. Something broke or was triggered inside her. This changes many things. When Dona Constanza received the news, her reaction was almost ceremonial. With shining eyes, she took the medical papers as if they were trophies. An heir. Finally, she whispered with a jubilation she didn't bother to hide. She no longer looked at me as Isabel. Now I was a symbol. A vessel. A container for the continuation of your lineage. "From today you will live here," he ordered in an unequivocal tone. "Alejandro will take care of your needs." From that day on, he changed too. The rebellious young man, the one who used to shout that he didn't want children or marriage, became attentive, even protective. But there was an invisible wall between us. When we were alone, it was clear that something in him was still resisting. One afternoon, taking advantage of Dona Constanza's absence, she sat beside me in the inner garden. She sighed deeply, as if she had been carrying a heavy burden for hours. "I'm sorry you're going through all this," she said. "My mother can be intense. You don't have to apologize." I replied gently. This was an agreement. Everyone is fulfilling their role. He looked at me with a mixture of sadness and bewilderment. "Is it really that simple for you?" I tried to reply, but a new notification on my phone interrupted me. It was Catalina, my friend and business partner. The message was short, but urgent. "I'm outside. In the car. We need to talk. It's important." I didn't say a word to Alejandro. I slipped out discreetly, my heart pounding in my ribs. Catalina was waiting for me in her car, the engine already running. His expression was serious, his eyes fixed on the road. As soon as I got in, he took off without hesitation. As if every second counted. "What's going on?" I asked, alarmed. "I had to get you out of that house. You can't trust them. The Valverdes hear everything, even what you think you're thinking silently." He opened the back compartment and took out a thick folder full of documents and photographs, which he placed on my lap. "Take a good look at what's in there." I started going through the papers. Old newspaper clippings. Notarial records. Medical reports and, amidst all that, images that seemed to have been ripped from another time. One showed a young Constanza embracing a man who, undoubtedly, was not Alejandro's father. There were paternity suits and court documents hidden beneath layers of silence. What does all this mean? It's the true story of the Valverde family. And of mine, too. She looked at me with a mixture of anger and vulnerability. My real name? It's Catalina Valverde. I felt a knot in my stomach. What are you talking about? I'm Hernan Valverde's illegitimate daughter. Constanza abandoned me when I was a baby. My mother died trying to reclaim what was rightfully mine. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because it was all planned. Our agency, the contract with Mar Azul, even our close relationship with Alejandro. Nothing was by chance. But my affection for you was real. So you used me? No, I gave you the opportunity to come in. But now you're pregnant. And that puts you in the line of fire. How do you know? I have connections. I accessed the results before you did. And you're not the first. Constanza has a pattern. She chooses fertile women, gets them pregnant, and then discreetly makes them disappear. A chill ran down my spine. My hands were trembling. What should I do? Use your position. You're waiting for the next heir. That gives you power. But it also makes you a threat. She doesn't share power with anyone. I returned to the mansion with my heart racing and my nerves on edge. Alejandro was waiting for me in the foyer, visibly upset. My mother wants to see you. Does she want to make the pregnancy official? She says there's no time to lose. Are they always this hasty? The Valverdes don't leave any loose ends. Or room for surprises. We walked down the corridor in silence. And as we walked, I realized this was no longer a simple agreement. I was caught in a web of power. Broken loyalties and carefully buried truths. 3 months passed. My belly grew. And with him? Dona Constanza had absolute control. Everything he ate, every step he took, every visit he received, was monitored. She never mentioned my name. He didn't say, your son either. Only, the heir. Only Alexander seemed to still remember that I was a person. He brought me books, asked me questions. He took me to the garden when the motion sensors were off. One afternoon, as the clouds covered the sky, he sat beside me and broke the silence. How do you feel? Watched. Your mother checks my calls, my messages, even my dreams. I feel invisible. Her eyes darkened. There are things you don't understand about my family. Like what? Like what? I have an illegitimate sister. And apparently, she swore revenge. She dropped the book she was holding. Her face remained motionless. What did you say? Catalina, my business partner. She's your sister. Alejandro paled. That can't be. Catalina Valverde died when she was a baby. Maybe your mother didn't tell you everything. She got up slowly and walked to the window. Outside, the first raindrops were hitting the glass. But the real storm had already broken. Inside their own home. If that's true, we're in danger. Who exactly is it? I asked, my voice firm. He looked at me with a mixture of fear and certainty. You, Catalina, and probably me too. That's not true, he said, interrupting suddenly. My mother may be many things, but she's not a murderer. And are you so sure? I don't know for certain, but I know I won't let her hurt you. At that moment, Dona Constanza appeared in the doorway with a studiedly kind smile. Isabel, darling, it's time for your medical checkup. Alejandro went ahead, wanting to avoid the interruption. We were in the middle of something important. Now the only thing that matters is the baby's well-being, Constanza said with a sweetness that seemed too rehearsed. When we were alone, her face changed abruptly. Her smile vanished as if it had never existed. Remember why you're here. Your role is to bring that child into the world. What happens after that is no longer your concern. And what will happen after the birth? I asked calmly. Will you receive what was promised? Just as we agreed. His coldness makes my blood run cold. That night, Alejandro came to see me, his face contorted with rage. I found something, he said, handing me a folder of papers. Photographs and official documents. Catalina was right, she didn't die. They sent her to an institution far from everything. And there's more. What does this mean? It means my mother may not be a murderer. But she does know how to eliminate people from her path. And what are you going to do to me? I won't allow it. And why would I trust you? Because, without meaning to, I started to feel something real for you. My phone vibrated at that moment. An anonymous message. Urgent appointment. Hospital cafeteria. Use the review as an excuse. I showed it to Alejandro. What should I do? Go, but stay alert. Catalina doesn't always show all her cards. I didn't sleep that night. It was no longer a simple agreement. It was a silent struggle for survival. The hospital cafeteria was almost empty. Deceiving Constanza's bodyguard wasn't difficult. I need to go to the bathroom, I told her. And I slipped down the hall to our meeting point. Catalina was waiting for me at the end, holding a tablet. I thought you weren't coming, she whispered. I only have 20 minutes. So listen carefully, she said, showing me the screen. Do these names sound familiar? I shook my head. They're women who worked for Constanza. They all disappeared after becoming pregnant. The pattern repeats itself. Employment, closeness to Alejandro, money, silence. Do you have proof? No direct proof. But there are traces. And they all signed agreements similar to yours. My body was trembling. What do you need from me? Constanza's diary. She keeps it locked in her office. That notebook can change everything. Are you asking me to infiltrate? I'm asking you to save yourself. Either you do it, or she'll do it first. I swallowed hard. Okay. But I want to know the whole truth. Catalina lowered her gaze and confessed. My mother worked in this house. She had a relationship with Hernan Valverde. When she became pregnant, she was fired without hesitation. She died fighting for him to acknowledge me. And why did you choose me? Because I saw in you a strength that no one else had. So you used me. I offered you a choice. Now, we're at war. And you can't fight it alone. My phone vibrated again. It's been 15 minutes. We're going back. Take care of yourself. And don't even trust Alejandro, he warned. Why? Because the Valverdes don't betray their blood. When I returned, Alejandro was waiting for me. My mother is furious. You said you were feeling unwell. It was an excuse, but... How do you know I saw Catalina? The bodyguard told me. Me, not her. He approached. Some employees no longer follow his orders. It's only a matter of time before everything changes. Catalina says your mother plans to make me disappear after I give birth. She doesn't kill. But she knows how to make someone disappear. And what about the diary? It exists. It's in a safe, behind my grandfather's portrait. But it's dangerous. We need to know what's in there. Alejandro hesitated, but nodded. Tonight, we'll go together. It was 2 a.m. when Alejandro gently knocked on my door. Ready? She whispered. The mansion was asleep. Every shadow seemed to be watching us. We knew the shift change was at 2:15. We had less than 5 minutes. We slithered through the corridors like ghosts to the studio. Alejandro approached the portrait of Grandpa Valverde and moved it carefully. Behind it, a metal safe emerged from the wall. Do you know the combination? I could try his wedding date. He dialed the numbers. Nothing. Catalina's? I don't know. What if it's the birth of Catherine? I dared to say. May 3, 1990. He tried. There was a click. The box opened. How did you know? Because I doubt your mother will forget the day someone she always wanted to erase was born. Inside was the diary. Black leather, with the gold emblem of the Valverde family. We carried it to my room, trembling. We opened it. The first few pages were about receptions, donations, social events. And then, on a more worn sheet of paper, was what we were looking for. Look at this, Alejandro said, his voice trembling. The entry detailed, with chilling precision, how witnesses had been manipulated, evidence concealed, and documents forged. All to cover up an accident. The accident in which Alejandro's father died. My mother didn't just allow it, she organized it, he said, pale. Shortly after, my name appeared written down. Isabel, ideal candidate. If I conceive, I will follow protocol. Wedding. Childbirth under private supervision and subsequent resolution of the case. Absolute discretion. I was breathless. Case solved. You are the case, Isabel, Alejandro said, lowering his voice. Their plan was to get rid of you after the birth. That's no longer an agreement. It's a death sentence. And we won't allow it. What if no one believes you? Then we'll make it public. At the next council meeting. But we'll need Catalina. I'm not sure she's completely trustworthy. But she has connections. If anyone can help us expose all of this, it's her. Should we show her the diary? Not yet. Just let her know we have it. That night, Alejandro went to his room, and I understood there was no turning back. I had come here for the money. But now I was at the center of something that would change an entire family. The Valverde Enterprises meeting room was packed. Executives, lawyers, board members. At the head of the table, as always, was Dona Constanza. Cold. Untouched. Alejandro and I entered arm in arm. What a surprise to see you here, Isabel, she said, with a grimace that mimicked a smile. She's my fiancée. Alejandro said firmly. And the mother of the next heir. We sat down. Catalina was already there, camouflaged among the administrative staff. Alejandro stood up. Before we talk about the company's future, I think it's time to confront its past. Alejandro, this isn't appropriate. It's more than appropriate. He pulled out the diary. This document contains detailed records of illegal activities, disappearances, personnel manipulation, and misuse of company resources. An awkward silence fell over the room. Are you suggesting that Constanza Valverde manipulated this family's fate for years? She orchestrated my father's accident? He erased Catalina Valverde from history. And he planned to eliminate Isabel after the child's birth. Lies. Constanza exclaimed, standing up. That diary is an absurd forgery. Catalina stood up too. And is this fake too? She asked, pulling out a folder. All eyes turned to her. Who are you? I am Catalina Valverde, daughter of Hernan Valverde. And I have in my possession the original will that recognizes me as the legitimate heir to 25% of this company. The murmur was instantaneous. A lawyer stood up. Does that will exist? Hidden for more than 2 decades. Constanza's face contorted. For the first time, she was no longer untouchable. I won't let a bastard take away what I built with my own hands. Even if it means destroying lives. I interjected. Even if it means my death. You're just a surrogate. Her words landed like a sharp blow. Alejandro raised the newspaper. I propose a vote to remove her immediately. Hands went up, one after another. The decision was unanimous. The guards entered. Constanza was escorted outside. As she passed me, she murmured. This isn't over. Valverde always comes back. But for the first time, it was over. The following hours were a whirlwind. Constanza was formally dismissed by the council, and Alejandro was appointed interim director of Valverde Enterprises. Catalina was finally recognized as the rightful heir, and I ceased to be a shadow within the walls of that mansion. That night, when I got home, everything felt different. The walls no longer held secrets, but stories waiting to be told. The air was lighter. Even the silence had a different tone. What now? I asked Alejandro as we watched the garden from the terrace. With the evidence we have, my mother will face serious charges. He won't be able to avoid it this time. And what about us? What do we do now? The contract mentioned money. And separation. But everything has changed. Do you want to stay? I looked at him for a moment. I do, but I need time. Everything has happened so fast. He smiled tenderly and placed his hand on my belly. We're 9 months along. There was no rush. 6 months later, the news was official. Constanza Valverde was sentenced to 20 years in prison for attempted murder, document forgery, and abuse of corporate power. The media covered it, but without any scandals. The family had too many connections to allow a precipitous public downfall. But he fell, and that was enough. How are you feeling? Alejandro asked, hugging me from behind as we watched the sunset. At peace. For the first time since I arrived here. I'm not afraid. The company was thriving under Alejandro and Catalina's leadership. I had started a new marketing project within the group. I walked through the house's hallways feeling like I was part of something real. Not a prisoner. Not a contract. Are you still thinking about the bonus? Alejandro asked me with a soft laugh. Sometimes, I replied, laughing too. It used to seem like a fortune to me. Now I know there are things much more valuable. We kissed. I had come looking for money. And I ended up finding myself. The day of the birth. It was raining softly. The mansion was silent. Alejandro accompanied me to the hospital, while Catalina waited outside as usual. Steadfast. Vigilant. With that silent strength he had learned to respect. The labor was long. Complicated. But when I heard my son cry, everything made sense. It's a boy, the doctor said, his voice filled with emotion. Alejandro broke down at that moment. Not as a businessman. Not as Constanza's son. But as a father. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for giving us a new story. 3 weeks later. We meet Catalina in a simple coffee shop. Away from the public eye. How do you feel now that it's all over? I asked her. Free, she replied. Although I still struggle to understand who I am without that anger that sustained me for years. You are someone who saved another woman. And that is worth more than any surname. She smiled. And in that smile, I understood that we had both been reborn. Do you trust Alejandro? She asked suddenly. Yes, but not blindly. Okay, he agreed. Because the Valverdes always keep secrets. Even those who loved him. The months passed. The baby grew up healthy, strong, and loved. Catalina was her godmother. Alejandro, a present father. And me, I no longer needed contracts. I stayed because I wanted to. Because I chose that place, that story, that new version of myself. One night, while we were organizing the baby's things, Alejandro looked at me silently. "Do you know what I thought the first time I saw you? That you seemed interested in money?" I joked. "I thought, she'll be the beginning of the end." But I was wrong. You were the beginning of my freedom. A year later, on the baby's first birthday, Catalina organized a small gathering in the garden. No photographers. No press. Just us. To the end of the legacy of fear, she toasted. And for the birth of a lineage based on truth. I smiled. And at that moment I knew, without a doubt, that it wasn't my past that defined who I was. That was what I decided to build after him. The Valverde legacy would continue, but this time reborn.